It hurts to realize that I was wrong about the person I loved. I want to tell you my story and ask you for advice on what you would do in such a situation. I am 28 years old, and I've been extremely unlucky in my personal life. If my previous failures could be justified by lack of experience and inability to understand people, then my current relationship has led me to a complete dead. When I was 20, I had a long-distance relationship and cohabitation experience. Then a man offered me to move in with him, and I followed my feelings. I quit my studies, broke off relations with my family and friends, and left for 1,000 kilometers away from home. I regretted it a few months later. He didn't work a single day. He relied on his parents, rarely spent the night at home, and then he started physically abusing me. By some miracle, I managed to escape from him, but I cried and blamed myself for being naive. I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown at that time. My next long-term relationship was 2 years ago. I was dating a married man who honestly told me that he would not leave his family and advised me to move on with my life without him. I took his advice painfully at the time, but I still had hope that I could finally break free from this toxic relationship because I met a very nice guy who was my age. We had a good conversation online at first, and then we decided to meet. Despite the distance of 200 kilometers between us, he made the effort to come and see me, and our friendly meetings gradually turned into a romantic relationship. It seemed like we were perfect for each other. He took care of me, was attentive, and treated me with kindness, something that no one else had done before. This had a profound effect on me, and I finally felt loved and appreciated. I didn't rush into the relationship, but instead treated him with calmness, sympathy, and respect. To me, this was how a strong relationship should be, where there is trust and shared goals and values in life. I must mention that according to him, I was the first person he had been with. Of course this surprised me, but it was a pleasant surprise. A surprise rather than a warning, as there were no issues with ex-wives or girlfriends. We recently decided it was time for my partner to meet my parents. Since I was busy with work and he was on vacation, we chose to go to my place. To give some context, we both live with our parents and have the same mothers. We have our reasons for not moving out, but the main one is our parents' age. Both his mother and mine are in their 60s, and their health is not as good as it used to be. I had no doubt that my parents would like him, and my mother approved of my choice. We then started thinking about our future living arrangements. Initially, everything seemed fine during our introduction, but my partner ended up staying longer than planned. And to avoid being idle, he helped us out a lot. We were grateful for his intelligence, hard work, and enterprising nature. However, once the work week began, I had to stay late for various reasons, leaving him alone with my mother. I understand that people can behave differently in different situations and with different people, but his behavior was unacceptable. Yesterday, after he left, my mother called me for a frank conversation and revealed some things that made me not want to see him again. Not only did he speak to her in a disrespectful and insolent manner, but he also sulked and refused to speak. My mother also mentions that he didn't eat anything all day. But the most concerning thing was that he suggested taking me to his place because he couldn't leave his mother, who he claimed was in a nursing home. While I was away, he never once offered to help my mother with heavy tasks or other difficult work, even though he didn't have to. In my presence, he always acted differently, and I was happy to see him being a good host. However, according to my mother, he was extremely disrespectful towards her. I also noticed that towards the end of his stay with us, he became increasingly nervous and even snapped at my mother in my presence, saying hurtful things. I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything, thinking that my mother was provoking him. The guy arrived in the middle of the renovation and immediately rushed to help us, but instead of agreeing on how we would work in tandem, we spent a lot of time arguing. When my mother told me everything that had gone on in our house in my absence, I cried. I felt terrible. I didn't want to believe that the man I had almost no doubts about and was going to build my life with turned out to be such a hypocrite and a bore. Ew, I'm just hurt and scared. I fear that he won't respect me either. It's unbearable to realize that I've lost another year of my youth. Life doesn't seem to teach me anything. I consider myself a fool. Now I do not know what to do. It seems that I built a house on the sand. Comments, rascal, if it's true what your mother says, then you need to do the legwork from such a man. Such behavior, once again, confirms the truth that the gut sooner or later will make itself known. But it's possible that this is not the case. He could have started a conversation about you moving in with him, and your mother decided to stop it. I'm not saying I'm right, but we need to watch both of them. Dimitri, the option of the mom not wanting to let her daughter go is not plausible in this case. He relaxed at the end, and already in front of the author began to allow himself unnecessary. The author and you directly talk to him. Ask him if it happened or not. See what he says, how he reacts. And in general, a mother is a mother. There are millions of people like him, but there is only one mother. Paulina, to be disappointed in the young man, it's not the worst thing in life. It happens that after living for a while, even with her husband in a lawful marriage, you can not just be disappointed, and for a long time in shock to come from his actions. And this can happen more than once, so it can happen again in your second marriage. Although your mother may be exaggerating the extent of the fight with your boyfriend, frankly, calm down already with your age. Because of the pressure you put on yourself, you will do whatever it takes to avoid being alone. When you finally relax, you will find a normal man because your mind will be clear. Not everyone follows the same life pattern of getting married at 20 and having children immediately. Do you have to conform to a pattern? What happened to my beloved? 5 years ago, I thought I had met the love of my life. He showered me with strong declarations of love, sweet gestures, and romantic gestures. We moved in together quickly, and I must admit that I am very quiet and shy, while he is outgoing and can get along with anyone. At first, he took care of me and provided for me, but then I realized that he was doing it to please me. We dated for 3 years before he joined the army. He promised to love me forever and that we would be the happiest couple. A year went by, and he came back, and everything was great for 2 months. Then he changed completely. He would insult me, humiliate me, and make fun of me. He started hanging out with a strange group of people, drinking every day and not coming home to sleep. I was in shock and just put up with it, forgiving him for everything. Then one day, he called me for a talk. He said he didn't love me and that we were just roommates. He said it was his fault and that I was not to blame. The conversation lasted for 10 minutes, and then he went off to get drunk again. I tried to win him back at that moment, but I could see in his eyes that he was completely indifferent to me. A couple of days later, while I was not at home, he quietly packed his things and left. Again, there was no conversation. A few days later, I found out that he was dating a 17-year-old girl with a rebellious appearance, piercings, tattoos, etc. This was surprising because all of his previous girlfriends were ordinary. I called him and confronted him about it, and he swore that he didn't leave because of her. It has been 2 weeks now, and I know I shouldn't beg and try to bring him back, but I can't help it. I want to call him and ask him to come home. Should I? Achi comments, Nika, don't even think about it. Do not even think about calling him back. You are specifically unwanted, insulted, disrespected, and disliked. And really, it's not about you, it's about him. What is there to love then? Drunkenness, karaoke, informal parties, do you need them? Close that door, or better yet, pick it up, and another door will open. Love brings joy, not suffering. String right on a piece of paper, plus and of your beloved today, and you will see for yourself. Oops, love yourself, and you will surely be loved. Lioness, author, your boyfriend is not someone to be walked on. Leave him alone. Save the rest of your dignity, because he has made his attitude towards you clear. What else do you want from him? Mealy, you may want to call him back right away, but it will only prolong your suffering. Remember, everything happens for the best.